The one phrase that I don't know if you have heard when I talk to others, the one phrase that I usually to introduce you is a songwriting machine. He just
I try.
writes songs like crazy. It's just one after the other after the other. It just goes on. But how cool he is. And yeah, you're gonna have to pay me for that. So
I like storytelling, but with music. That's all it is. Within like 1 or 2 months, between September and November 2021, I wrote like 18 songs.
I told you it's a songwriting machine. I told you.
So I've always liked music and sports. That's
Okay.
all I ever wanted to do, either music or sports, or both. You know, brown families,
Yeah.
they love their doctors and engineers.
اشتقت لها بكتب للي بقلبي بس ما برسلها كانت هي دنيتي وحياتي كلها.
All right, ladies and gents, welcome to the Setlist podcast. This is the very first episode that we are going to do, and we have an absolutely stunning guest. Doesn't look good as much as me, but still does the job. All right, so he's our first guest. Most of you already know the guest. He's Ibby VK. He's a long-time friend of mine, and he's one guy that I usually go to if I have any questions regarding the music industry or anything, and then he helps me out. Whoever knows Ibby knows how cool he is, and yeah, you're gonna have to pay me for that. So, welcome to the first episode. This is the very first episode of the Setlist podcast, and we have a lot of plans for this podcast. We have a big and huge, heavy lineup of guests for the podcast, and still trying to figure out how this can go. So this is the first one. Let's welcome Ibby VK to the first episode of Setlist podcast. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks so much for having me, bro.
Very glad to have. I think for the last, we did an open mic project before, you remember?
Yeah.
Even for that, he was the first guest for that. You remember that? Yeah. So Ibby's always my first person to go to. Yeah.
Just throw me somewhere and I'm there.
Definitely. He's coming back again for sure for another episode. So just to introduce Ibby, he's been doing music for a very long time. And the one phrase that I don't know if you have heard when I talk to others, the one phrase that I usually to introduce you is a songwriting machine. He just writes songs like crazy. It's just one after the other after the other. It just goes on. So from you, let's see, who is Ibby? Well, how do you how would you introduce yourself as a musician?
I would just say I'm a songwriter. I just wanted to be a songwriter. Yeah, that's all I wanted to be. And then I didn't even know how to sing. I didn't even know how to play guitar. I didn't know how to do anything. So yeah, I'm a songwriter first, a songwriter who learned how to play guitar, who learned how to sing, who learned how to record and release music, and who learned how to do everything that's involved within that as the music business, as they call it, just in order to sell my songwriting to people. So yeah, I would probably be more closer to a poet or something than an actual artist or whatever you call them. And I've done a lot of open mics where there's like poetry and stuff because, you know, I like storytelling, but with music.
Right.
That's all it is.
So as we say, most of the artists we introduce ourselves as singer-songwriter. So if you see both as two different aspects, you pick the songwriter more than being a singer.
Definitely songwriter.
Okay, great. So that's that. So you can guess the lyrics are gonna be so good for Ibby's music. And now recently, when did you start writing Arabic? Like I think in the last 2 years, I think.
Yeah, in 2022.
Two.
Yeah, 2021 actually. When my mom passed away, that's when I really started focusing on Arabic music a lot. End of 2021, I started writing in September, October, approximately. And then by November, I had released my first Arabic song.
That's 2022 November.
Yeah, 2021.
21 November. Okay.
Yeah. 21 October is when I started writing first. And then 2022 January is when I released the first song. And then basically it was like always writing English. And everyone was telling me just try to incorporate some of your roots, some Arabic. But I always saw it as like cringe. Right. So I never really attempted to. You know, it's like no disrespect to anyone, but like when I hear like that one Arabic word in an English song, come on, it doesn't fit, you know. So even now, I don't write an English song with Arabic words, and I don't write an Arabic song with.
So if it's Arabic, it's completely an Arabic song.
Yeah, I mean, I might eventually when I get a bit more comfortable with it, but I don't want to force it. I don't want to push it. And this is my number one rule in songwriting: never force, never push a song. When I have a project with a client or something, I tell them, give me time.
Okay.
I'm not gonna take a week, probably gonna take a few days max, but give me time. Don't tell me I need this in 6 hours, which is funny because I did a song with Red Bull and Kareem,
Yeah, I remember. Yes, yes.
and we had like 8 hours to meet the artist. We didn't even know who it was.
That was a one single day project, I believe. Like
8 hours. That's it. Yeah, they picked us up in the morning. I was like awake at like 7 a.m. I've never been awake. I've never been to the studio
Right.
anytime before 10 p.m. We met like that day. We got to know each other and everything, and wrote the song and recorded it and finished everything within that 8 hours. We actually finished in 6 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a challenge to be writing English all that time and then just transition to Arabic. But within like 1 or 2 months, between September and November 2021, I wrote like 18 songs.
I told you, it's a songwriting machine. I told you.
No, it's like a lot of artists experience that. You know, you have writer's block. I'm sure you've experienced it too. But like when the gates open, the floodgates open, it's just like
Just flows.
it just flows.
Let's we're gonna rewind the whole thing back. So I know you're a chemical engineer.
Yeah.
You are a qualified chemical engineer. How did that happen? From being, like, when did you find the music in you? Like when did you realize, okay, I am a musician or I can write music?
So I've always liked music and sports. That's
Okay.
all I ever wanted to do, either music or sports or both. But you know, brown families,
Yeah.
they love their doctors and engineers. And I had like a cumulative of 97 point something percent graduating from high school, and I was being pushed by the family and even neighbors. They used to call me doctor, doctor. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, please don't call me that. I hate it. And then I was like, okay, what's the shortest way to make my family happy? And I was like, okay, engineering. They said you can finish it in 4.
It's not an easy subject, is it? Chemistry.
I graduated with like a 2.4 GPA. Yeah. So yeah, I chose chemical engineering, and I just like tried to get rid of it as fast as possible, and graduated and focused on music after that.
When was that?
Ages ago, it was like 2018.
2018. So that's when you started getting into.
Yeah, I was getting into it before that. I was recording a few songs in the studio. I even released my first song before I graduated, my first few songs.
Yeah, I remember. I think when we met for the first time, you already had your song out.
Yeah, the one you mentioned just before we started.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
podcast,
yeah.
I actually made that in my friend's dorm room, Waji. Yeah.
But that was very cool.
He's working as an engineer now.
He's gonna be watching this.
Yeah. He was so talented. We actually made it in his dorm room. We just like recorded it, and he mixed it and mastered it with a 500 dirham laptop and a pair of headphones.
No way. Hey, that's a sign. Like if it doesn't matter what the gadgets that you have. Like if you really know how to do stuff, you can.
I really believe that. I've worked with the best studios, and I've worked with people in their bedrooms, in their dorms.
Right.
And honestly, it doesn't matter what car you're driving. It's all about the driver.
Have you produced any songs all by yourself?
Myself, produced.
Recording, mixing, mastering. Yeah.
I've tried. I don't have the patience.
You have tried. You realize you don't have the patience. Okay.
Yeah, I know how to do certain things on like Fruity Loops or Logic or other DAWs, but I've never actually even recorded myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I've recorded some ideas, you know, tried, dabbled around, made the beats, stuff like that, but actually recording, no. Or even mixing, mastering, no way. I don't have the patience to sit there and just go through the
Each
libraries.
layer and.
And producers have so much patience, I can't.
Yeah. You started writing songs first before you got into playing music as a profession, right? Is that
Yeah.
that's so the first songwriting came first?
Definitely, songwriting was first. We used to write without even music, without even knowing notes or singing or anything.
Have you learned guitar as a course or self-taught?
No, I bought it one day without telling my mom, and she was just like, "What is this? What are you doing?"
I remember you sharing in some interviews or something about you used to play music in the car because your mom didn't like it much. Feel free if you don't want to share.
I used to hide it in the car, in the trunk of the car.
Yeah, I remember you telling that.
You know what that does to the strings in the Dubai heat. But yeah, it was rough. It was like a whole lot of learning on YouTube, trying to implement it slowly. It took a few months because I never had like the complete freedom to practice at home. But eventually I got the hang of it after like 6, 8 months. And I started doing basic chords and I just stuck with that. I never really tried to learn scales. I've never even tried to learn
The
theory, nothing. Yeah. I always just had the basics, the chords, and I built on them myself.
You just picked what you want and learned.
Exactly. Whatever solos you see me playing live or anything is just like making it up on the spot. Yeah.
When did you start looping?
Looping was nice. That was like a turning point. It was very fun to discover. Until this day, like I've met some artists, some guitarists who have never looped before, and then I tell them, you know, like try it. It's very fun. And they try it and they're like, wow, this is so fun. So when I started looping, it opened so many doors. And of course, like most musicians, we discovered it through Ed Sheeran. And I bought that RC30, the Boss RC30.
The one with the two pedals.
Yeah, that small one. And then onto the big one, the RC300. And now we were just discussing the new one
The 600.
to play. And
The journey, the whole journey, the songwriting. When you started back in 2018, this is something that I really want to sit down with you, which we already had multiple conversations on about songwriting. So I keep asking different artists because I myself, as we discussed, I'm trying to write songs, but I'm still not there. But it's the other way of the journey as you had. You found songwriting first and then started playing music as a profession. But for me, it's like it took almost a couple of years for me to start writing or attempting to write songs. So one thing I'm trying to learn from all the musicians is how is your process of writing songs? I have heard some musicians start with the lyrics and then build up the chords and things around it. Some people start with maybe a riff or something on their instrument and then write the rest of the stuff along with it. What's your process like?
I don't really have a process, honestly. Sometimes I start with a voice note, just humming something that came in my head. Sometimes I start with the chords. I just pick up the guitar and I play a chord progression that I really feel at that moment, whether it's sad or happy. And I just write lyrics on that. Sometimes, in my early days, I don't even do this much, but in my early days, when I didn't play an instrument or I was just learning, I would actually write the lyrics first, make them rhyme, try to find a structure, and then I would try to find a melody in my head, and then I would try to apply that melody on the guitar with the little knowledge I know. But now as soon as we have the melody, we can just like come up with the chords right away. So it's very different. It's everyone and their personal preference, I guess.
Have you ever felt like I remember you saying doing projects for different, for doing the projects. Let's say somebody has a requirement and you have to get that done. But it possibly is entirely different from how you are writing song because you have a free canvas. Nobody is gonna tell you they want it this way. You can do anything you want. But when somebody asks you to do a project, do you feel that stressful, or do you feel after a couple of tries you get there, or how does that feel?
I don't feel stressed about it. I do feel stressed about the quality.
Okay.
Like there's always that doubt that comes into your mind, like what if this is not good enough for this project? What if I want to keep this to myself? Sometimes you write a song and you're like, I want to keep it.
Right.
It depends on the client. Sometimes you write an amazing song and the client's like, what is this? You know? And sometimes you write a song and you're like, I don't really like it. And then it becomes like one of the best songs that you've ever written. It's weird. It's working with other people is always weird to me. That's why I've never been in a band.
Right, right. I feel you. Same thing.
It's so weird, like trying to coordinate with people, trying to cater to everyone's preferences. I am a very diplomatic person, but when it comes to work, I really like efficiency, and I've never experienced as much efficiency and as much flow as when I do things myself. Um, I've tried being signed to a label. I've had big labels offer me contracts. I've worked with managements. I've done so many things with so many different people, and I've never been as successful as when I've done everything myself.
Okay. So you prefer do it everything for yourself and by yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
I prefer going through the process myself, whether it's the writing, the production, anything, and then just bringing in people and paying them. Like whether I'm working with a producer, I would pay them, or if it's a collaborative project, then I would have like a good amount of control in that project. But I've learned through the years to just trust my vision and just learn to say no, basically, because especially when you've been in the field for a while, like it's been 8 years now that I've been releasing music, so
Almost a decade. That's a long time. Yeah.
we're old, bro. So yeah, if you've been in that for a while and you've been doing everything yourself, to go and work with someone who hasn't been in the business for so long, that's why they call it the music business. It's not the music hobby or the music passion. You have to think about it in a business way. So if you've been the CEO of a company for 8 years, you can't expect someone who has 3 years of experience or less than you to run the company as good as you did, right? That's why when think of it as a startup or a business, like we said, you would, as the founder, you would want to get a CEO who is actually knowledgeable, who knows their stuff, So you would get someone seasoned, an expert to handle that. So usually no one's going to work with an independent artist unless they have that traction. So just focus on your songs, focus on doing everything yourself. When you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm getting too many requests on my email, I can't keep up, then you get a manager.
Right.
When you get to a point where you're like, okay, I need to make more songs in a shorter amount of time, that's when you get I don't know, a producer or a public relations guy. When you're getting too many shows and gigs and you're getting booked so many times, that's when you get the public relations people, or like I said, a manager. It's very business oriented. So if you don't think about it as a business, you're never actually going to make it to that next level.
Right. The business thing, that's one thing I wanted to discuss. So for especially for the gigging artists. So that's something I wanted to bring all these experienced artists and then share their view on the same thing. As for let's say the business side of it, there is this one taboo topic that everybody don't like to do about doing free gigs at first. You remember we met in Dera City Center a long time back. You were performing there, and that's when I came. I had no plans to take music as a profession back then, but we met to talk about the guitar picks. You were playing there, so that's when you actually mentioned something that really caught my attention. Oh yeah, you still got that.
The Heidi guitar picks.
So there was something that you mentioned. The first year you did almost 200 free gigs, and before you got your first paid contract.
Yeah.
And the same thing I discussed with a few other artists. And there are different ways of approaching this, but there are a few artists who prefer charging from day one. And what I took from all this, from you, from other artists, how I navigated my journey is, I set myself a time for, I believe back then it was like 6 months. I'm going to take free gigs and paid gigs and low paid gigs, whatever comes my way. And then after a certain point, then I'm going to stop doing free gigs and then start charging and use this 6 months to hone my craft, basically, to develop myself, to get used to the stage and stuff. How do you see about doing free gigs as an artist who wants to make music a living, a full-time profession? They want to learn. I mean, they want to live off music.
Well,
How do you suggest others to approach it?
in the beginning, you know, you're like we said, you're starting a business. No one's gonna work with that business unless they've seen that business work. They need to see a working business model. And for an artist, a working business model means having experience to do live shows.
Right.
Now let's set aside people who write and record and release their own music. As someone who does covers for a living, how do you expect someone to hire you if they can't see any videos of you performing online? If you're just in your bedroom and you've released so many covers, even if it's 1,000 covers, okay, but where's your personal, you know, live experience?
Yeah.
So that's where the free gigs come in. That's where the open mics come in. That's where all these, you know, first-hand experience.
The real stages.
The real stage, you have to perform to a real crowd, not just a camera. That's what most people don't understand these days. And that's what you see in artists who get famous in their bedroom, for example. And then you go to their live show and you're like, what is this? It's so lame, you know? He's just standing on stage and just singing for not even an hour. They sing for like 40 minutes because they don't have that much content. And some people actually lose fans because they've built a big following on social media, for example, and they start doing live shows and people realize this person sucks when they're live.
Right.
And it's because that person hasn't prepared. And no matter how much time you take to prepare and rehearse in the studio, it's not going to prepare you for first-hand experience.
Yeah.
We all talk about stage fright. If you don't have stage fright, there's something wrong with you, especially in the beginning. I still get nervous a little bit. I'm sure you do in certain gigs, not all of them. Like, yeah, sure, when you're singing to like a place with 10, 20 people, you don't get that nervous. But when you're in a gig in front of like thousands, then you're like, okay, everyone's watching me, everyone's waiting for the music. So it's good to take free gigs to get content, to get the experience of performing to a live audience, to get experience to feel what a stage looks like, how it feels like, moving around, not being static in your place. It's good for the experience. That's one word for it. And the content. As a content creator, you should realize the power of actually taking those gigs. Obviously, don't take those free gigs and not get anything out of them. You know, if you're giving something, might as well be getting something. Again, it's a business at the end of the day. It's not a charity. Unless, you know, you're doing a charity event, which we've done before. But if you're taking free gigs, just make sure that after a certain point, you have enough content, you have enough presence, you have enough reputation to not have to do it anymore. So if you have like a good promo video out of all these gigs, now you can start reaching out to people, getting hired, playing at events, getting paid for the service that you're providing. You're a service provider at the end of the day. So that's in terms of gigging musicians, doing covers, restaurants, lounges, stuff like that. As for recording artists, sure, you can build a social media following with your own songs in your bedroom. But like we said, it's not going to appeal to a certain audience who's paying money to come and watch you, who is driving for hours and taking time out of their day to, you know, drive, park, buy the ticket, all these things. They're not going to be satisfied paying the same amount of money to your concert when they're paying the same amount of money to, again, someone with 8-10 years of experience doing this, right? Their favorite artists, whoever artist you just thought about, for example, at a big concert, you know, they have all these fireworks, they have these dancers behind them, but that show is enjoyable because of that experience, because they have that experience. If you look at those artists 10 years ago, or when they started their journey, it's not the same. It's not,
true.
Yeah, you wouldn't pay the same amount of money you did back then. So definitely do some shows. Be selective, of course. You're not going to do something a bit stupid, right? Like, you're not going to go play for children at a birthday party for free, for example. No. That's not how it works. Because you're not getting out of it anything out of it. You know, no content, no reputation, no. You're gonna be known as that guy who played birthday parties. So yeah, definitely do them, but be very selective and be very mindful of what you're getting out of it.
Okay. This about the stage fright plus the experience. There is something I had. I don't know if I have mentioned to you before. So my very first residency contract was in downtown. So that was in 2018.
That's a good place to have your first residency. It's a good place to have your first residency.
I was so glad I got that because I never thought, as I said, I never planned on being a gigging musician. The first inquiry came in, and then I was like, this is cool. I'm playing anyways for open mics and at home. On top of that, I'm getting paid. This is super cool. So I said yes. So, but the problem was back then what I had, which I believe many of those who are listening can connect, is most of us started with open mics. And for the open mics, most of the songs that I chose are which I can show my, let's say, vocal talents. So it's more melodious. It's my songs, at least my choices were more slow-paced, mellow songs. And I'm going to a gigging venue with those songs. So I had my first gig, my first day, very first day. I was so nervous, definitely. It's the first gig. And I had two friends who joined me. And I did my first set, did my second set. Back then I was sitting. Now I stand and play, but back then I was just one guitar and my vocals.
We all did.
So I was so nervous. I still got one of those pictures with me. It's very funny. So I did my first set, I did my second set, and then after my second set, there was one lady who came up to me. We were sitting with my two friends. I was sitting with my two friends. One lady came up to me and asked, do you have any happy songs? That was so, it's not shocking. It was, let's say, it was a new, something that I really didn't think of about playing. Because I believed somebody offered me a contract because I can play, I can entertain the crowd. But I think that question was really necessary for tweaking my set list. Because most of my songs, that's when I realized, I went through my song list, it was like, okay, this one's sad, this one's sad, this one's also sad. This is slightly happy, but a little bit sad.
You learn how to change the tempo.
Yeah. So, and then, but I didn't have any more. I think I started with around 30 songs. That's all I had on my list. So my friend told me, right now, just don't sweat. Just get the third set done how you have planned. Just get it done. But for the next time, try to tweak it a bit. But that was a good experience. It was a bit very nervous, nerve-wracking for the third set. She's still there listening to me, and I'm still playing sad songs. But it was very necessary. Have you had any of those kind of experiences where your songs were not really connecting with the audience or not desirable for the audience? Because that's one thing I realized back then, that we can sing songs for the open mics what we want, at home what we want. But when somebody's paying us to a venue, you're more of an entertainer on the stage who is supposed to entertain the crowd rather than choosing your own songs, what you like to play. So have you had that kind of experience where you realize, okay, this is not exactly what I'm supposed to do?
It's not just for doing cover gigs, actually. It works for your originals as well. You don't want to be doing 45 minutes of just sad songs. Yeah. You want to switch it up. Even if you think those songs aren't as good, you still need a tempo change. You still need a key change. You still need a chord change, you know. It's very hard because the most appealing songs are like 3-4 chord songs.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have a song with a changing chord progression, a song that's happy, a song that's in a minor key and then a major key. Switch up the lyrics. There are so many things you can do as an original artist to make your set list or your show just a bit more special, a bit more memorable.
Right.
And it not just helps keep the audience's attention, it also helps not make it boring, but it also helps make the songs individually more memorable. Right. So if you have a happy song with a catchy hook, and then you play a sad song with a catchy hook, no one's going to get confused between the two. But if you have 3-4 sad songs with kind of a similar chord progression, kind of a similar tempo, they're going to get confused between those songs. Right. And I'm sure you can do that with your favorite artists as well. because most people, they stick to a certain style. In the beginning of your career, that's how you get that traction, because you stick to a certain audience, to a certain niche. But eventually, you're going to have to change. Again, taking into example Linkin Park, for example. They had a very niche audience in the beginning, and then they started expanding. You can take, I don't know, Ed Sheeran, again, another example. He had like all these sad songs, and then he started expanding into happier, more pop stuff like that. Even with rap, Eminem started as a very lyrical guy. And then he started doing... Actually, if you think about his first actual big hit, it's the one with a repetitive chorus. Although he's a rapper, but what caught people's attention is the repetitive chorus. So it's good to have a niche audience in the beginning, but you get to a certain point where you want to get to the next level, you have to do something to change. And it doesn't necessarily mean a drastic change, like change your genre or start a different group or something like that. It just means that you have to be open to different tempos, be open to different chord progressions, be open to different lyrics. If you're singing about the same thing all the time, it doesn't work. So it's the same thing. And it's a good thing that she told you that, because that proves my point that you need shows to give you experience.
Yes.
Without the experience, you would have thought you're the best singer in the world and there's nothing to... So if it's like, if you were put on a big stage, let's say to open for a bigger artist, then that would have been way more embarrassing if that happened to you, because not people wouldn't have been able to come and tell you that, you know, change the songs. They would have been walking away, going to get drinks while their artist is going to get food, going to get whatever. They wouldn't have paid you any attention. Sure, you would have had them, you know, even if you had the best voice in the world, the best guitar playing in the world, if you're making it repetitive, 3-4 songs in, they're going to be like, okay. And then
It's pretty much the same.
so yeah, it's again, that's where the experience comes in order to see what works, what doesn't, what to avoid.
Right. So the one point that you said about the mixing up the pace and the changing up the chord sequences and stuff. In terms of original music, it's something that I have felt. Maybe it's just for me, but I felt like I connect more, or the songs stick to my mind more when the lyrics or the chorus or the tune or the chords are more simple, rather than being more complicated. For example, the chords, as in the Metallica's Nothing Else Matters, just very simple chords, very simple lyrics, nothing complicated. And then there's the other one, The Simple Man. Who does that? The Lynyrd Skynyrd? I'm not sure. Mama told me. Such a good song. It's there's nothing complicated. Such a simple structured song. Have you ever felt the same? That the simple songs are more easy for the listener to remember and stick to the mind, to the mind, or it's more of unique stuff?
It's not actually. It's not that I felt that way. It's that's what the data shows. Like that's what the top songs of all time. They don't have major chord changes. Like you don't see different chords all the time. Sure, there are memorable songs that have a lot of chord changes, but in order to get to that level where you have a lot of chord changes and your song becomes a hit, you'd actually have to be a big artist. Like Bohemian Rhapsody, for example, by Queen. It has a lot of chord changes, but they were already big at that point. They would have never gotten away with that song if they did that early on in their career. If you see like the first songs to get famous by an artist, they're usually the very simple stuff, the very repetitive stuff. Not even 4 chords. You'd see 3 chords, 3 chord progressions, or 2 even sometimes. Even established artists who, for example, separate from their group, like the One Direction boys, when they separated from the group, if you see all their first few singles, I'm sure their managers would have told them that, or like, you know, someone from the top, they would have told them, don't make, you know, songs with varied chord progressions. If you see their songs individually, when they split, you would see that their songs were 4 chords, most of them. So yeah.
I think the Ed Sheeran's also a big example
Yeah,
for them. Most of his
course.
songs are very simple.
Most of them.
Chords.
The A Team was 4 chords, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I almost forgot about that song.
yeah, that was his
That
first
was,
big
yeah.
one. Even Justin Bieber, his first few
Right.
songs. You can't name a single artist like that I can think of who didn't have a simple song that
Right.
they got famous with or big with.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
there are exceptions, but I think that is the rule.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna jump more into the songwriting part of things. Before that, let's jump into one song.
Done.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's get Ibby sing a song for us.
Which one would you like?
Shatala. That's how
All
you
right.
say it, right?
Shatala.
Shatala. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. 4 chords, by the way.
Oh yes.
اشتقت لها بكتب للي بقلبي بسمع برسلها كانت هي دنيتي وحياتي كلها مش عارف شو ممكن لسه إلا ما في كلمة بقدر اوصف لفيها عن حزني تركتني لحالي بهالعتمة وبحاول امنع حالي اني اني مخبي هالوجع اللي ساكن جوا قلبي بالليل بصلي وبدعي ربي اني انسى الفراق اللي كسرني لاني اشتقت لأني اشتقت لها بكتب للي بقلبي بس ما برسلها كانت هي دنيتي وحياتي كلها وعم حاول امنع حالي اني الا اني اشتقت لها
I love the end of the chorus. Na, 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 because that's
what sticks.
Oh yeah, that's what's in my mind. Like whenever I think about this song, that's the part that's in my head.
Yeah, and that's what I discovered through trial and error of songwriting.
What was the start of this song? Like, what was the initial idea or the tune or did you hum the thing or what did it come from the guitar?
I was actually in my friend's place. He's called Salora. He's in Alain, Syrian guy as well. He's a film producer and rapper as well, an artist. And I was in his place in Alain, and we were just like jamming and stuff. And I was just telling him like, how much I miss my mom and stuff. And I was just like, in Arabic, اشتقت means, I hope so. In Arabic, I was saying him like, اشتقت I miss her. And I just like was jamming these chords, basically, very basic chords. And I just went like, اشتقت na 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 na.
So that's what came first.
Yeah. So like I told you, like different songs will start in different ways. For me, at least, I don't know.
Right.
I think someone who actually sticks to a rubric of writing songs is actually forcing themselves to write a song. If you just let the songs happen, then they're gonna happen in different ways.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to jump in next about. Let's say somebody, for me also, that's the main reason of me sitting down with the artist is to understand. If someone wants to write a song or be a songwriter, they know they want to write songs, but they don't know how to start. They don't know how to approach it. what would you tell them? Where should they start? Should they? A few questions that I have in mind, which you might be able to answer. One thing is we have different ideas, like you say, like different things could be bad, could be good. We don't feel like it's good because most of my ideas I feel like it's shit, complete shit.
Yeah.
But do you think we should release all those things or just produce it by yourself in a very simple format? Let's say just a guitar and put some sample drums to it, get the vocals, and then just release it, man. Then the last day when we had the discussion, you told about maybe we can do a second version of it after a couple of months.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that you would tell a new songwriter to do so that they find their style or they find the way how or they find themselves as a musician?
The first question they should ask themselves is, am I built for this?
Okay.
Like, am I built to be a songwriter? You know, if you're into sports and stuff, for example, it's not a very good idea to be a basketball player if you're like very short, right? You can. There are like some cases, but the rule is you would be better if you were tall. Same thing if you were a race car driver. I love driving cars. You know me. We both love cars.
Oh.
We talk about them all the time.
I love your Cadillac.
Yeah, but I could never be a race car driver, dude.
Right.
If I've dropped down to like 88 kgs at some point in my life, and I was like anorexic, like I had my ribs sticking out. Yeah, so I'm not built to be a race car driver because race car drivers, they have to be like very small because every kilogram counts, you know?
Right.
So the smaller you are, the better you will perform, most probably. So same thing you have to ask yourself about, you know, songwriting. Are you actually built to be a songwriter? Would you actually be good? Have you tried it long enough to know that you can actually do it or not? Because in order to be, and we're just talking about songwriting.
Right, yeah.
In order to be a songwriter, you have to be good with words. You have to be, and I see a lot of people trying to write songs in a language they're not comfortable in. Like, it's not your native language.
That's why I don't touch Hindi or my native language. I don't think I'm good at that.
That's why I try to avoid Arabic because I was like, I wouldn't be as good as these other artists, you know, writing their own songs and stuff. But then when I started getting comfortable with it, I'm like, okay, now I can try at least. And when I tried, I did well, for me anyway.
Right.
But if you try and you're coming up with words that are like cringy and stuff, and you've tried to work on it and it doesn't work, maybe songwriting isn't for you, you know? Ask yourself, do you want to be a songwriter or an artist?
Okay.
Because you can still be an artist.
Yes.
You don't have to necessarily write your own songs. I'm a recording artist, but I don't produce my own songs. You know, the two are not intertwined. You don't have to be a songwriter to be a recording artist. If you see most of the artists these days, if you see the songwriting credits, they rarely have, you know, credits. Not many of them don't.
Right.
The new ones obviously do because, you know, independent artists are becoming a bigger thing now.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary. You'll see like a lot of these artists trying to force it on themselves when you're already paying like for a producer to produce your songs. You're already paying for a videographer to shoot your videos. You're already paying for a graphic designer to do your album artwork. Why aren't you paying a songwriter to write your song? It's not going to add much to your expenses, especially if you're working with like newer people in the field. But you know, at least you can start getting your own songs in a good time frame that you want. If it takes you like months to write a song, it's not efficient. As a business, you have to be efficient, and efficiency doesn't come hand in hand with a slow speed of execution.
Right.
There's no way, because most artists, and I've learned this myself, my biggest mistake is that I take long times between songs. Like the last song I released was more than a year ago. Yeah. So consistency and actually a very short time frame between songs is a very good formula. And if you can't meet that criteria, making a song like once every 2-3 months minimum, then you're not gonna be able to achieve those goals, no matter how small they are or big they are.
Right.
You're not gonna achieve them because you're gonna be drowned by the algorithms of all these social media platforms, by YouTube. The algorithm itself is gonna forget you.
Right.
So if you're not constantly there, constantly putting out content, that content being your original music, then you're not going to be able to. But if you are a songwriter, if you're good with the language that you're writing in, if you've proved to yourself that you can at least do or write a song on demand, then there are ways to be better, like practicing more often, writing more often, writing about different topics, writing things that your friends tell you, writing songs for your friends,
Right.
For your artist friends, writing songs for other people, not just for yourself. So just like the gig experience, you have to do it for free in the beginning.
Right.
The same thing with songwriting. You have to do it for free in the beginning.
Right.
Do it for like skits online.
Right.
You know, like write something funny, 10, 15 seconds.
Right.
Move on to something longer. Move on to a full song. That's how it works. Yeah.
Great. So we might squeeze in one more final question. Our producer Joe, how much time we got? 5? Okay. 4 minutes. All right. We're gonna squeeze in one more song, which I really wanted to ask you, and then squeeze in one final song. And then we're going to wind up. So the last one thing, for a musician, let's say in Dubai, we'll make it very short. Somebody wants to be an earning musician, a gigging musician. Yeah. What do you think the first main 2 things that they should be? So for me, when somebody asks me, one thing that I say is be easy to work with. Don't be a pain in the ass, basically, for the agents or venues. How would you say? One thing if they want to be, to get hired.
To get hired, have a good promo. Honestly, yeah.
And the choice of songs.
I've seen so many artists that aren't that good live, but they get a lot of gigs because they have a very clean promo. So if your sole focus is just getting gigs, then definitely have a good promo. If you can't shoot it yourself, edit it yourself, hire someone to do it for you, it's going to be worth it. Okay. Because whatever you pay, you're going to probably make it in 1 or 2 gigs max.
Right.
So, a better advice would be invest in yourself. Because if you don't invest in yourself, no one's going to invest in you.
Right.
So if you're not willing to put in 1,000, 2,000 dirhams, or even dollars, honestly, into your promo, into your songs, paying for these things, why do you expect other people to pay you?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes
sense. Invest in yourself, for sure.
Great. That was the final question for today. We're going to jump in for one final song. Anything, your favorite, your song, any of your originals.
Let's do it. We're going to do Near You.
Yep. Let's do it.
I like that one.
Yeah. Quick question. How many songs have you released so far?
Released? Like, not sure, maybe 20?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have, the funny thing is I have unreleased songs.
Yeah.
I have like 20 of them in my phone, like literally ready to release. I've been working on them since 2019, some of them. So they're 5 years old and they're just still sitting there. Yeah, I have a problem with that I need to fix.
Yeah, we're gonna hear them soon.
All right, let's see. I'm not sure this is the right key. We'll try.
Yeah.
Tell me, how can I take you home when your eyes got me frozen still? I try to move, but they won't let me go, and I'm lost on my power of will. Darling, your touch can heal my broken soul and remind me of the way it feels to find shelter in the arms of someone close. So won't you keep me near? I know you think that I'm a fool. I know you're feeling this too. That's why I wanna stay here near you. I hope you see that it's true. I'm feeling something new. That's why I wanna stay here.
I love this song as well. Yeah, when you start singing it, this is that song.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. So that was the first episode. But again, thank you.
Producer. Thanks so much for
Joey's there. Yeah. So that was Ibby for you, ladies and gents, and thank you so much for saying yes to all my first, my first projects. He's the first guy.
I'll be your first of first.
Oh yeah, you're coming back again. Once we figure out the whole things, he's coming back again for another episode. But thank you so much, and check out. There we go. Oh, we did that. So check out his music on all the platforms. He's got around 20 tracks
VK.
out. Ibby VK, and he's on socials as well. I'm gonna drop all the links below the videos, so you can check that. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, man. See you again for the next one. Thank you. I'll see you guys for the next episode. Thanks for watching.